The warning lights flashed across Havens Point Space Station, bathing the command center in waves of red. Commander Reed's antenna twitched nervously as he studied the massive display screen before him. His four eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of stress that his crew had learned to recognize over the years. Unknown vessel approaching, sir. The young officer at the scanning station pressed his webbed hands against the control panel. It just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our sensor range. Reed moved closer to the screen, his tall, thin frame casting a shadow over the nearby crew members. "Show me the scan results," he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. The crew was already nervous enough without their commander showing fear. The image on the screen changed, revealing a sleek, dark vessel that looked nothing like the usual ships that visited Havens Point. Its design was aggressive, with angles and lines that spoke of war rather than peace. Reed felt his heart skip a beat when he saw the markings on its hull. It's human," he whispered, and the command center fell silent. Even the usual background chatter of the station's systems seemed to grow quiet at those words. 6 months ago, the galaxy had been a different place. Reed remembered the day clearly, the first contact with the humans. Their ships had appeared at the edges of Alliance space, bringing messages of peace and cooperation. The Alliance Council had been excited about meeting a new species, especially one that had developed faster than light travel independently. But everything had gone wrong during the first diplomatic meeting. The human delegation had brought their AI assistants, something that deeply troubled many Alliance species. The Council members from the Order of Light had been particularly vocal about their concerns. They believed that any species that relied on artificial intelligence was doomed to destruction. The humans had tried to explain that they didn't rely on AI, but rather worked alongside it. They called it a partnership, but the Order's representatives had seen it as an abomination. Words had been exchanged, threats made, and within weeks, the promising first contact had descended into a diplomatic crisis. Now, 6 months later, a human warship had appeared near one of the Alliance's most important space stations. Reed looked around the command center at his crew of 5,000. They were good people, all of them, representing 30 different species from across the Alliance. But none of them had ever faced humans in combat. "Sir," the sensor officer called out again, his voice shaking. "The human ship, it's not very big. Initial scans suggest a crew of no more than 50. Reed's antenna stood straight up in surprise. 50 crew members to attack a station of 5,000. Either the humans were insane, or they knew something the Alliance didn't. "Send out the standard warnings," Reed ordered. "Tell them they've entered restricted space and must withdraw immediately." He paused, then added, "and begin evacuation of the civilian sections. Move all non-essential personnel to the emergency shelters." The next few minutes were tense as messages were sent, and the station's massive population began to move. Reed watched the human ship on the screen, noting how it made no aggressive moves. It just sat there, like a predator waiting for its prey to make a mistake. "Message from the human vessel, sir." The communications officer's scales had turned a pale blue, showing his fear. They say they're here to talk. They want to discuss what happened at the diplomatic meeting." Reed felt his antenna droop. Talk. After 6 months of increasing tensions, after sending a warship to a civilian station, it had to be a trick. "Sir." The sensor officer's voice had risen to a near screech. "The human ship is powering up its systems. Their energy readings are. The officer never finished his sentence. The command center's lights flickered, and every screen suddenly filled with static. When they cleared, Reed saw something that made his heart nearly stop. The human ship had moved, covering an impossible distance in seconds, and was now directly in front of the station's main viewport. Reed stared at the warship, its dark hull now close enough to see clearly. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like the apex predators that roamed the death worlds of the Outer Rim. As he watched, lights began to flash across its surface in a pattern he didn't recognize. The battle for Havens Point was about to begin, and Reed had a feeling that his 5,000 crew members were about to learn why humans had earned their reputation in such a short time. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the Relentless, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the massive space station through the main viewport. The station's lights flickered like stars, and its size made his ship look tiny in comparison. But size wasn't everything, and humans had learned that lesson well. "Nova, what's their status?" Walker asked, addressing the ship's eye companion. A soft blue light pulsed on the bridge's central console as Nova processed the scan data. "The station's shields are powering up, Captain," Nova replied, its voice calm and clear. "They're moving civilians to protected areas. Their weapon systems are active, but not targeting us yet. I detect approximately 5,000 life forms aboard." Walker nodded, a small smile crossing his face. 5,000 against 50. On paper, it looked like suicide. But the Relentless wasn't just any ship, and his crew wasn't just any crew. "Show me the tactical display," he ordered. The air in front of him filled with holographic images, showing every detail of the station's defenses. Nova had mapped them all within seconds of their arrival. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. There were only 10 of them, each managing systems that would have required hundreds of crew members in an Alliance vessel. The humans had learned early on that working with AI wasn't about replacement. It was about partnership. "Their communication arrays are active," reported Tom from the sensor station. "But there's something odd about the signals. Nova, are you seeing this?" The blue light pulsed again. "Confirmed. The signals don't match standard Alliance protocols. There's an underlying pattern that suggests external interference." Walker frowned. He'd fought in enough battles to know when something wasn't right. The diplomatic disaster 6 months ago had seemed too convenient, too perfectly designed to drive a wedge between humans and the Alliance. "They're charging weapons," Nova announced. "Multiple targeting systems are locking onto our position." "Hold position," Walker ordered. "Defensive systems only. Tom, keep analyzing those signals. Mary, prepare our own weapons, but do not target. Let's show them we can bite if we have to, but we're not here to start a fight." The Relentless hummed with power as its advanced systems came online. The ship's hull sparkled as nano-repair systems activated, ready to fix any damage instantly. Point defense turrets emerged from hidden compartments, their eye-guided targeting systems far more accurate than any manual gunner. "Captain," Nova's voice held a note of concern, "I'm detecting unusual power fluctuations in the station's shield grid. Their defensive pattern is irregular. Either their technology is severely malfunctioning, or someone's messing with their systems." Walker finished, "just like they messed with our first contact." He turned to his crew. "Remember your training. We're not here to fight the Alliance. We're here to find out who's really pulling the strings." A warning alarm sounded, and the tactical display lit up with new information. 3 small ships had just dropped out of FTL behind the station. Their design was unlike anything in the Alliance database. "Nova, analyze those ships," Walker ordered. "Compare them to all known designs, including historical records." Analysis complete, Nova responded after a few seconds. "The design shares elements with ships seen during the Shadow Raid incident 2 years ago. The same incident where unknown forces attempted to pit the Alliance against the Rigel Confederation." Walker's smile grew wider. Now they were getting somewhere. The pieces were falling into place. Someone had been trying to keep humanity isolated, to prevent them from joining the galactic community. The same someone who had sabotaged the diplomatic meeting. "Send a tight beam message to the station," he ordered. "Text only, encoded using the diplomatic cipher from first contact. Tell them to check their shield harmonics. Let's see if Commander Reed is as smart as our intelligence suggests." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements synchronized with Nova's systems. This was why human ships were different. While the Alliance relied on huge crews working independently, humans had learned to create true harmony between organic and artificial minds. Message sent, Tom reported. Station's computer systems are showing increased activity. They're scanning their own shields. Walker watched the massive station, knowing that the next few minutes would determine whether they'd find allies or enemies. The three mysterious ships were moving closer, their intentions still unknown. But Walker had faced worse odds before, and he had something they didn't expect. A crew that combined the best of human intuition with AI precision. Now, he thought, let's see who's really pulling the strings in this galaxy. The space between the Relentless and Havens Point crackled with tension. Commander Reed's message arrived garbled and hostile sounding, but something about it made Walker pause. The translation seemed wrong, too aggressive, too unlike the calm commander that human intelligence had described. Nova, run a deep analysis on that transmission, Walker ordered. Compare it to known Alliance language patterns. Before the AI could respond, the station's main weapons array lit up. Energy beams lanced out toward the Relentless, but the human ship moved with impossible grace. Its AI-enhanced engines responded faster than any organic pilot could manage, sliding between the deadly beams like water through fingers. Multiple impacts on the station's outer hull, Nova reported. But the weapons fire didn't come from their main array. Origin point matches the three unknown vessels. In the station's command center, Reed watched in amazement as the human ship danced through space. His sensor officer's readings made no sense. No ship that size should be able to move like that. Then he saw something that made his antenna stand straight up in alarm. Those shots, he said slowly, they didn't come from us. He turned to his weapons officer. Check the logs. Did anyone authorize weapons fire? The weapons officer, her scales now a deep purple of confusion, shook her head. Our weapons are armed but not active, sir. But the sensors show the shots came from our station. Reed's message screen flashed. The human ship was sending another transmission, this time using an old diplomatic code. As he read it, his four eyes widened. Check the shield harmonics. Why would they? Then understanding hit him like a plasma bolt. Sir, the sensor officer called out. Those three ships, they're trying to match our shield frequency. On the Relentless, Walker watched the station's shield grid flicker. They got the message, he said quietly. Nova, prepare to transmit shield modification codes. Let's show the Alliance what human technology can really do. The three mystery ships were closing in, their weapons charging for another volley. But Walker had seen their type before. They relied on chaos and confusion, turning potential allies against each other. They hadn't counted on human AI systems being able to detect their deception. Reed ordered his crew to adjust the shield frequencies, but the station's older systems were slow to respond. Another blast from the mystery ships rocked Havens Point, and warning alarms blared throughout the structure. Shields at 60%. Reed's engineering officer shouted. We can't modify the frequencies fast enough. The Relentless suddenly accelerated, placing itself between the station and the attacking ships. Its advanced shields glowed as they absorbed enemy fire. The human vessel was tiny compared to the station, but it held its position like a guardian angel. Receiving transmission from the human ship, Reed's communication officer announced. They're offering to link their shield systems with ours. Sir, that's never been done before. The power requirements alone. Reed looked at the tactical display. The three enemy ships were spreading out, trying to flank them. Without better shields, the station wouldn't survive another coordinated attack. He had to make a choice. Trust the humans or watch his station fall. Accept the link, he ordered. Tell engineering to prepare for power fluctuations. The Relentless's AI systems connected with the station's computers. Nova's processes flowed through Havens Point's networks, upgrading and enhancing as they went. The station's shields suddenly pulsed with new energy, their color changing to match the human ship's defensive screen. Shield integration complete, Nova reported to both Walker and Reed. Station defenses upgraded, detecting multiple targeting attempts from enemy vessels. The mystery ships launched another attack, but this time their weapons splashed harmlessly against the combined shield grid. The human eye had modified the frequencies faster than any organic crew could track, making it impossible for the enemy to breach their defenses. "Commander Reed," Walker's voice came through clearly now, free of interference. "I believe we have some things to discuss. But first, what do you say we deal with our uninvited guests?" Reed watched as the human ship's point defense systems came online, their accuracy enhanced by AI targeting. Perhaps, he thought, working with artificial intelligence wasn't the danger his people had been led to believe. Perhaps they had been afraid of the wrong thing all along. Walker watched the tactical display as the combined shield grid held strong against the enemy attacks. But something wasn't right. The mystery ships were too confident, too focused on the station. They had to know they couldn't break through the enhanced shields, yet they kept trying. "Nova, analyze their attack pattern," he ordered. "They're not just trying to destroy the station, are they?" The AI's blue light pulsed as it processed the data. "Negative, Captain. Their weapon impacts are concentrated on specific points. They appear to be trying to trigger a response in the station's power grid." On Haven's Point, Reed was reaching the same conclusion. His engineering team reported strange power fluctuations in sections of the station that shouldn't have been affected by the attacks. Someone had tampered with their systems long before the fighting started. "Commander," a voice called from the back of the command center. Reed turned to see his chief engineer, breathing hard from running. "We found something in the main computer core. Hidden programs, set to activate when hit with specific energy patterns. Those ships out there, they're not trying to destroy us. They're trying to trigger something inside the station." Reed's antenna twitched with anger. Someone had planted traps in his station, right under their noses. He opened a channel to the Relentless. "Captain Walker, are you seeing this?" "We are," Walker replied. "Nova's detected similar code fragments in several key systems. Whoever did this has been planning it for months, probably since before first contact with Earth." A new alarm blared through the station. One of the mystery ships had changed position, moving to a new attack angle. Its weapons fired, but instead of the usual energy beams, it released a pulse of data, a trigger signal. Multiple systems failing. Reed's engineering officer shouted. "Life support is shutting down in civilian sectors. Security doors are closing randomly. It's chaos." Walker's voice came through again, steady and determined. "Commander, if you'll allow it, Nova can help. She can isolate the infected systems and protect the critical ones. But we'll need full access to your computer core." Reed looked around his command center. His crew was fighting to maintain control of their systems, but they were losing. The hidden programs were spreading like a virus, turning the station's own automation against them. He had spent his whole career being cautious about AI, but now it might be their only hope. "Do it," he ordered. "Give them access." The Relentless's AI merged deeper with the station's systems. Nova moved through the digital pathways like a surgeon, identifying and quarantining corrupted code. But the enemy ships weren't done. They launched physical attacks along with their data pulses, trying to overwhelm the defenses. "Captain," Nova reported, "I found something. The hidden programs. They're designed to transmit station data to a specific location. Coordinates are beyond Alliance space." Walker's eyes narrowed. "Can you trace it?" "Attempting trace now. But Captain, there's more. I'm detecting similar code fragments in other Alliance databases. This station isn't the only target. They'd been planning something much bigger." On the station, Reed watched in amazement as his systems began to stabilize. The human eye was faster than anything he had ever seen, not just fighting the virus but learning from it, adapting, growing stronger. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "the enemy ships, they're changing formation. I think they're preparing to ram us." The three mystery ships suddenly accelerated toward Haven's Point, their engines glowing with dangerous levels of power. They had failed to trigger their trap, and now they were desperate. "Nova," Walker commanded, Transfer all non-essential power to the forward shields. Show them what happens when they threaten civilians under human protection. The Relentless's engines flared to life. The small human ship moved to intercept all three attackers at once, its AI calculating the perfect position to protect the station. Reed held his breath as he watched. His entire career, he had been taught that AI was a threat to organic life. Now he was watching an AI risk everything to save thousands of lives. The space around Havens Point was about to become a battlefield, and the true nature of humanity's relationship with artificial intelligence was about to be demonstrated to the entire alliance. The three enemy ships streaked toward Havens Point like arrows, their engines burning so hot they left trails of plasma in the void. The Relentless moved to intercept them, its small size belying its power. Behind his command console, Walker felt a familiar calm settle over him. This was the moment when all the training, all the integration between human and AI, would prove its worth. "Nova, show me their weak points," he ordered. The AI overlaid targeting data on the main display, highlighting vulnerable spots on each attacking vessel. But before the Relentless could engage, chaos erupted inside Havens Point. Reed's command center filled with shouts of alarm as internal sensors detected multiple explosions. Security breach in levels 12 through 15. Reed's security chief reported, his scales turning almost white with stress. Armed intruders detected. They were hiding inside the station. The true plan was finally revealing itself. The space battle was just a distraction. The real threat had been inside Havens Point all along, waiting for this moment. "Commander," Nova's voice came through on both ships' channels. "I'm detecting transporter signatures. The intruders are using short-range teleporters to move between decks. Their technology matches the attacking ships." Reed's antenna quivered with rage. Someone had smuggled enemy agents aboard his station, right under his nose. But how? Then he remembered. The diplomatic incident 6 months ago. While everyone was focused on the conflict between humans and the Alliance, these infiltrators had slipped in unnoticed. "All security teams, engage intruders," Reed ordered. "But be careful. There are still civilians in those sections." Walker's tactical display updated with the new threat information. The enemy ships were still incoming, but now he had to divide his attention between the space battle and the station's internal crisis. "Nova, can you handle both?" he asked. "Affirmative, Captain. Starting emergency protocols now." Throughout Havens Point, security doors began moving in new patterns, guided by the human eye. Nova was turning the station's layout into a trap, isolating the intruders while creating safe corridors for civilians to escape. On the command deck, Reed received an urgent message from his engineering team. "Sir, we've identified their target. They're heading for the quantum core. If they overload it..." He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would happen if Havens Point's quantum core exploded. The blast would destroy not just the station, but create a rupture in space that would threaten nearby systems. "Walker," Reed called over the comm, "we need help inside the station. These intruders, they're using technology we've never seen before." The human captain didn't hesitate. "Tom, you have the bridge. Nova, split your processing power. Keep helping the station, but coordinate with the Relentless's defense systems." He turned to his security team. "Suit up. We're boarding the station." As the enemy ships closed in, a small craft launched from the Relentless. Walker and his security team, wearing advanced combat suits integrated with Nova's systems, headed for Havens Point. The human AI guided them to a docking port, while simultaneously coordinating the defense against the ramming ships. Inside the station, the intruders were moving with military precision. They wore dark armor that seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to track. Alliance security teams found themselves outmatched by the advanced technology. But they weren't fighting alone anymore. Nova's presence in the station's systems turned every corridor into a battlefield where the environment itself fought back. Gravity plates activated selectively, throwing intruders off balance, while letting Alliance security forces move freely. Air pressure shifted to slow the enemy's advance. Emergency containment fields sprang up at perfect moments to split their forces. "This is impossible," one of the intruders was heard saying over an intercepted comm channel. "The station's AI shouldn't be this advanced. Unless..." There was a pause. "Unless the humans gave them something new. Abort mission. We can't let them trace the signals back to..." The transmission cut off, but it was too late. Nova had already started unraveling their communication codes, following the digital breadcrumbs back to their source. Walker and his team were closing in on the first group of intruders, while Reed coordinated the defense of the quantum core. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Havens Point, but the future of human-alliance relations. And somewhere out in space, watching through hidden sensors, the true enemy was about to learn that they had made a serious mistake in underestimating both humanity and the AI they had helped create. The corridors of Havens Point echoed with weapons fire as Walker and his team pushed forward. Their combat suits' enhanced sensors, linked directly to Nova, showed enemy positions through walls and floors. The human eye was everywhere at once, coordinating both the internal defense and the space battle outside. 3 hostiles ahead, Nova's calm voice reported in their helmets. "They're setting up an ambush at the junction." Walker signaled his team to stop. In the old days, they would have been forced to either risk the ambush or take a longer route. But with Nova, they had a third option. "Station systems accessed," the AI announced, implementing countermeasures. The gravity in the junction suddenly reversed, sending the hidden attackers floating helplessly toward the ceiling. Before they could activate their magnetic boots, Walker's team had them stunned and secured. Outside the station, the 3 enemy ships started their final approach. The Relentless, still under Tom's command, moved to intercept them. Its weapons might have been controlled by computers, but the overall strategy came from human intuition, enhanced by AI precision. "Nova, I found something," Reed called over the comm. He was in the station's main computer core, working with the human AI to trace the enemy's communications. "These infiltrators, they're getting orders from someone on my senior staff." Walker ducked as another burst of weapons fire lit up the corridor. "Can you identify who?" "Working on it. But whoever it is has deep access to our systems. They're trying to delete their tracks as we speak." In the quantum core chamber, a team of engineers worked frantically to prevent an overload. The infiltrators had triggered a cascade failure before being driven back, and now the massive power source was becoming unstable. "Core temperature rising," Nova reported. "Estimated 12 minutes until critical failure." Walker's team reached a sealed blast door. Beyond it lay the main group of infiltrators, cornered but still dangerous. They had taken several Alliance crew members hostage and were threatening to execute them if their demands weren't met. "We need a distraction," Walker said. "Something big enough to make them look the wrong way at the right moment." Reed's voice came back, excited now. "Captain, Nova found it. The traitor is head of Security Gray. He's in the auxiliary control room right now, trying to override our lockdowns." The revelation hit hard. Gray had been on the station for years, perfectly placed to prepare for this attack. But why? What could be worth destroying an entire station? "Nova," Walker called. "Can you access the auxiliary control room systems?" "Affirmative. But head of Security Gray has isolated critical controls. I cannot prevent him from..." The AI paused. "Captain, detecting massive power surge in the auxiliary control room. Gray is attempting to overload all remaining systems." Walker smiled behind his helmet. "Perfect. That's our distraction. Nova, when I give the word, shut down all power to this section except emergency lights. Reed, have your people ready to move." Outside, the enemy ships began their final run. The Relentless's weapons blazed, scoring hits but not stopping their advance. They were committed now, ready to sacrifice themselves to complete their mission. "Now," Walker commanded. The station's lights went out. In the darkness, Nova activated the human combat suit's special capabilities. Their armor seemed to melt into the shadows, a technology that the Alliance had never seen before. The infiltrators, momentarily distracted by the power loss, never saw Walker's team coming. The humans moved like ghosts, their movements guided by Nova's perfect coordination. Within seconds, the hostages were safe and the enemy was down. Gray is making a run for it, Reed reported. He's heading for a hidden shuttle bay. Not anymore, Nova replied. The AI had learned enough about the station's systems to find all the secret passages that Gray had installed. One by one, they sealed shut, trapping the traitor. The enemy ships outside made their final push, but it was too late. The Relentless's weapons found their weak points, guided by Nova's precision. One by one, they erupted into balls of plasma, their debris scattering harmlessly against the station's shields. In the quantum core chamber, the engineers finally managed to stabilize the reaction. Haven's Point would survive, thanks to the combined efforts of humans, aliens, and AI working together. Walker looked at the stunned infiltrators, their advanced armor now powerless. Nova, can you crack their communications? Let's find out who they really work for. Already done, Captain, the AI replied. You're not going to believe where the signal leads. Commander Reed stared at the data on his screen in disbelief. The evidence Nova had uncovered painted a picture that seemed impossible, yet the proof was right there in front of him. Walker stood beside him, his combat suit now powered down but still impressive. The Order of Light, Reed whispered. All this time, it was them. They're the ones who tried to stop humans from joining the Alliance. Nova's blue light pulsed on the nearby console. Correct. The Order has been manipulating events for decades. They saw humanity's approach to AI integration as a threat to their control over Alliance technology policy. In the holding cell, former Security Chief Gray sat in silence, his career and cover destroyed in a single day. The infiltrators had been members of a secret military arm of the Order, hidden from the rest of the Alliance for generations. Their plan was simple but effective, Walker said, reading through Nova's report. They wanted to trigger a war between humanity and the Alliance, a war that would end with both sides damaged enough to keep the Order in power. Reed's antenna drooped with shame. And we almost fell for it. All those diplomatic incidents, the miscommunications, the growing fear of human eye. It was all engineered. The station's repair crews were already at work, fixing the damage from the battle. But more importantly, Alliance crews and human technicians worked side by side, sharing knowledge and breaking down barriers that had been artificially created. Captain, Nova announced, the Alliance Council is responding to our evidence. They're launching immediate investigations into the Order's activities. Several high-ranking members have already been arrested. Walker smiled. And the best part, they can't hide their tracks anymore. Once the Council saw how Nova helped protect Haven's Point, they started reconsidering their stance on AI integration. Reed watched as a human engineer showed his team how to interface their systems with Nova's protection protocols. The AI was teaching and learning at the same time, growing and adapting but never losing its core purpose, to work alongside organic life, not replace it. The Order was right about one thing, Reed said. Human AI technology will change the Alliance, but not in the way they feared. A week after the battle, Haven's Point had become a symbol of the new cooperation between humans and the Alliance. Ships from both sides came to see the station, where the truth had finally come to light. The Order's centuries-long manipulation was ending, replaced by a new era of partnership. Walker stood on the Relentless's bridge, preparing to depart. The station's new defense systems, a combination of Alliance and human technology, were fully operational. Nova had shared some of its protocols with the station's computers, teaching them to work better with their organic crews. It's interesting, Nova said as they made their final checks. The Order feared AI because they thought it would make organic life obsolete. They never understood that the goal was partnership, not replacement. Reed's image appeared on the main screen. The commander looked different now, more confident, more open to new ideas. "The Council has approved the Joint Defense Initiative," he announced. "We're going to be seeing more human ships and AI systems throughout Alliance space. And this time, there won't be any manufactured fear to stop the integration." "And the Order?" Walker asked. "Their power is broken. Once people learned how they had manipulated everyone, how they had nearly started a war just to maintain control, let's just say they won't be influencing policy anymore." The Relentless's engines hummed to life as it prepared to leave. But this time, it wasn't leaving as an intruder or potential enemy. It was departing as the ship that had helped expose a centuries-old conspiracy and open the door to a new future. "Nova," Walker said, "send a final message to Havens Point. Tell them the next time they see a human warship approaching, they won't need to call for all hands on deck." As the Relentless moved away from the station, its AI systems linked one last time with Havens Point's computers. In that brief connection, Nova shared something that the Order had never understood. The real power of human AI wasn't in its ability to fight or protect. It was in its ability to bring different species together, to help them understand each other, and to build bridges across the gaps of fear and mistrust. The next time a human ship appeared at Havens Point, there would be no red alert. Instead, there would be a welcome for fellow explorers in the vast expanse of space.